You're listening to Unmuted with Papamutes.
Welcome to Papamutes, everybody. Today, my guest is Lisa Ruoff. Lisa is the author of Gallivanting Goddess, Alaska to Cuba and Back. Also, Bite of the Travel Bug. Lisa, welcome to Papamutes.
Thank you, Bob. Glad to be here.
Now, you're in Colorado, correct?
We're in Durango, which is southwest. We're right around Four Corners. So we're about an hour away from Mesa Verde. New Mexico is about 20 miles down the road. Telluride's 2 hours up from us.
Okay. Now, where were you born?
I was born in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Far, far away.
Any siblings?
Yes. I'm the youngest of 6.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. There's a bunch of us.
So, in between Jersey and Colorado, you've been to a lot of places.
I have been to 5 of 7 continents. I know that. I have not counted how many countries because I'm not into the counting thing. Okay. But Australia, Africa. I've been to South America quite a few times. Mexico, Canada. I lived in Alaska for 8 years.
Nice.
Sweden. My sister lived in Sweden for a while, so I spent a couple of months over there visiting. Europe. The whole thing. So I really enjoy third world countries mostly, just because I get a lot more out of it.
But before you wrote these books, you were a chef.
Actually, it was the other way around. So the books are based on my travels from a long, long time ago, in my 20s and 30s. It depends on which book you're reading, but I had traveled around with about 8 journals in my stuff for most of my life, waiting for the right time for that to come to fruition, that I would write them down. And that finally happened in the last couple of years. So the chef thing happened for the past 25 years. So I just stopped doing that around COVID, just because of the market, and it wasn't planned to stop, but now I'm flipping houses. So I moved along to something else.
Instead of flipping burgers, you're flipping houses. Okay. I'm sure it was more than burgers.
Exactly. One or the other.
So you kind of answered it. I was going to say, so why write a book now? What prompted you, besides the fact that you have a lot to tell? I mean, writing a book is not easy, I'm assuming.
No, and it has kind of been in the plans. I mean, it's kind of been on the back burner for a long time, just because I've had these journals of when I traveled extensively in my younger years. And I think the biggest thing that kind of pushed it was, even before COVID happened, I moved to Vermont. And Vermont is a very interesting place. For those of you who have never lived there or been there, very different from what I have been used to. And I just got to talking to people about my past and my adventures in my life. And a lot of people that I met in Vermont were very interested. That was the term for me. Wow, you're very interesting. And it kind of put it into perspective of what other people thought was interesting and what I really wasn't aware of. So it kind of pushed me a little bit. I had a lot more motivation from what other people's perspectives were.
So which book came first? Bite the Travel Bug?
It's not actually, they're called the Gallivanting Goddess Chronicles, but they're not in chronological order.
Okay.
So my travels, the Bite of the Travel Bug is first, but that book was actually written second. So they're kind of all over the place. But the Bite of the Travel Bug just got published about 2 months ago, I want to say, maybe 3 months ago. And the Alaska to Cuba and Back one was 2 years ago.
So it sounds like an obvious answer. Who should read these books? I mean, obviously people that want to travel, but is it more than that? I mean, is it great stories along with, or is it advice?
Yeah, I think
advice like, if you're ever in Alaska, make sure you do this or that, or is it more stories that you have experienced?
Well, the Alaska one is definitely coming up. So that would be more of I lived there for 8 years kind of thing. There's of course a lot of stories in there, but it's more a life adventure than just this was 3 months or 6 months or something. The books are pretty much um, mostly just my adventures and happenstance and stuff like that. But because of it's my own tale, a lot of that has to do with my own personal likings, focuses, stuff like that. So for me, a lot of this so far in these two books anyway is the single female traveler. And a lot of that I wasn't really aware of at the time was anything different because that was my own little bubble. But the it's kind of motivation for single women, not just single women, but women that want to kind of branch out and do something that is definitely not conventional, maybe step off the edge a little bit. And also, I'm very environmental. So there's a lot of environmental stuff specifically in this, The Bite of the Travel Bug, just because I was extremely privileged to see certain things 20 years ago that I didn't realize how privileged I was. And now, in retrospect, I have that time difference. And a lot of that is kind of written in the book as well. Like, seeing the Great Barrier Reef in its prime, no one will ever see that again. So that kind of stuff. That kind of goes along with my own personal travels.
So I'm going to jump ahead to a couple questions down the lane here because since you have been around the world, so to speak, you've been to a lot of places, I guess is my point, and you're environmental.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel the Earth is warming? I know that's kind of off the topic, but do you feel what you're traveling?
It's
Do you
funny
think it's
because
warming like they say? Or is it over exaggerated?
yes, I think for me, I think that question, and that's really interesting that you brought that up because that specific question of do you believe in global warming has been asked to me probably 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And I don't know where it's coming from because for me, I'm like, well, I don't really think it's a matter of what I believe. I think it's a scientific fact that it is warming. Now, whether that's human caused or not it can be an opinion in my viewpoint. So yes, I have definitely seen global warming in my travels, specifically in my lifetime. And I don't use that term specifically in the book, global warming, but there are definitely certain things that are tied directly to that. And one of them is coral bleaching.
Hmm.
So when I mentioned the Great Barrier Reef, that is something that I don't think I knew about until later. I mean, it's kind of a new environmental occurrence anyway, especially the term. But yes, I have definitely seen. There's a whole my afterthoughts on The Bite of the Travel Bug is all about that kind of how the natural world has changed in the last 25 years so blatantly from what I saw 25 years ago to what there is now. And a lot of it does have to do with the warming of the planet,
Yeah.
unfortunately.